Welcome to Ritam, a journey to empower the youth through well-being and self-discovery. Welcome to another episode of Ritam, a podcast to empower the youth. I am Sheena.
And I am Pranav. In today's episode, we're here with Swami Tadananda. How are you, Swamiji?
I'm very good, Pranav. Sheena, how are you both?
We're doing amazing. Thank you for asking. And in this introductory episode, in the last introductory episode, we talked about the purpose of this youth podcast and how there is spiritual tools to empower us youth, especially to make our minds stronger and more resilient. And in today's episode, our listeners would be interested to know more about Vedanta and its teachings in general.
So, Swamiji, this one question has been bothering me a lot since we last spoke. Is Vedanta simply religious?
No, really, it is not, which is a good thing. It's a bit more scientific. So normally when we say religious, like, Hinduism, Christianity, Buddhism, it requires you to believe in a particular scripture, believe in a particular prophet, subscribe to their teachings, follow their rituals and ceremonies. And so you are then a follower of that religion. But incidentally, interestingly, Vedanta has nothing like that. The only thing it requires you to believe in yourself. So Swami Vivekananda, who was one of the teachers of Vedanta, he said, the old religion said that a person is an atheist who does not believe in God. Okay. And the new religion of Vedanta says a person is really an atheist who does not believe in himself or herself. Okay, and who is there who does not believe in themselves? So we all believe in ourselves that there is some greater possibility inside us, and we try to manifest that through our education, through our training, through our life. That is all that is necessary. But you might say, what is that greater self that we believe in? And so Vedanta explores that, goes deeper within ourselves, and shows us the hidden powers that are lying there in a potential form for us to manifest in life. So really, no, it is not religious, but one can utilize religion if they are religious in their life. It helps them. But if one is not, like so many people don't subscribe to any religion in this age, can they be Vedantins? Can they meditate? Definitely, yes.
Okay, that's good to hear that meditation is for everyone. And yeah, even atheists, everyone is included in this practice. Um, can you tell us how exactly do we understand ourselves through Vedanta?
The Vedanta says that when we look upon ourselves like normal, so-called normal people, where we identify as ourselves. For example, if I ask you, who are you? You'll give me your name and tell me more about yourself. And you'll tell me about your gender, about your age, about your likes, about your education, about your job, about your qualifications, about your own personality and everything. And that is what you will
And
say, this is what you are. Okay.
and these are all physical traits, am I correct?
Physical and mental. If you say
Okay.
I'm a student, you know, I'm an engineer, doctor, teacher, I'm a sports person, I'm a musician. So it's something about your skills, your talents, about things in your mind space,
Yeah.
education, training.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but there's more than that, right? There's the spiritual side, right?
So that's what Vedanta says. Vedanta says, well, the Vedanta is the word Vedanta. Let's explore that. Where does the word Vedanta come from? So the word comes is a combination of two words, Veda and Anta. Veda plus Anta is Vedanta. Anta means the end, the cream, the gist, the total final culmination of a long search of study. Okay. And what is Veda? Veda means the sum total of all the spiritual truths that people who have dived deep within themselves and explored, and they brought together. So it's just like science. What is science? Science is the sum total of all discoveries that mankind has made over hundreds and hundreds of years. It doesn't belong to any particular country, any particular person. It's a sum total of all the facts and truth that has been put together, and we call it science. You break it down into physics, chemistry, maths, biology, and all those various other sciences. And so, does it belong to anyone? No, it's everyone. It is nature, how we understand it. Now, when the spiritual seekers, instead of going out and exploring the external world, they turn that mind inwards to explore the internal world, they also come across so many wonderful truths and facts about who we are.
Could
Okay.
you dive a bit deeper into what can you elaborate on internal world a bit more?
Okay, so the external world is what we see through our five senses. The eyes are seeing objects, the ears are hearing sounds, five senses are interacting with the outside world. All right? When we wake up. But inside our head, in our inner mind, there are thoughts and ideas and feelings and emotions and a sense of an ego who I am. All right? That is our internal world that we are always. So it's we're interacting with the outside world. The world is working on us, and we are interacting and reacting to that. All right. So what Vedanta says, okay, we are not just the body, we are the mind. What that mind is, many people have different understanding, but it's some space where there is knowledge. There is some space where feelings and emotions and all those things are there. Is some space where that I sense is there, I amness is there. And that is mostly how so-called everybody, understands themselves. But the Vedantic teachers said, oh, that's just the tip of the iceberg. All right. Behind the physical gross, there is the subtle mind. And there is something beyond the mind also, which is what they call the spiritual dimension of our being. To put it in a scientific way, look, if I show you a piece of ice, okay, you can hold it, you can touch it, but then you can say that that which makes ice can take another shape and form, and we can call it water. And how do we do that? We heat the ice and it melts into something called water. Both have the same water molecules, but the form has changed. And you heat it some more, it has disappeared. It has become water vapor. It's there, but the eyes are not seeing, but still there. The water molecule can exist in these three forms: ice, water, and water vapor. And then you might say, well, where does that come from? And you say, okay, I'm a student of science. Water molecule has got two hydrogen and one oxygen. Where does that come from? Well, atom has got neutrons, protons, and electrons. Where does that come from? It comes from subatomic particles like quarks and all that. Where does that come from? And that's where the scientists are trying to search. But you
we
see,
can't find it. We can't find the answer.
well, they're trying,
This is
and they
Vedanta
say that
concept.
one day they will find. Okay, so that is the modern material science approach to understand things. But these are things outside, external things. Okay, we took an example of water. Now, if you turn that same inquiry inwards and say, who am I? Okay, so this is the physical body, which is equivalent to the ice. Okay, but behind that physical body, like right now, you are speaking, you are moving around. There are thoughts in your mind which you are choosing to express as words or not. Okay, and you're raising your hand, moving, writing, talking, all those things. So the mind is controlling the behavior, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so that mind could be the equivalent to water. Then you might say, is there an equivalent to the water vapor, something finer than the mind? Okay, and you said, okay, maybe it's there, but we do not know much about it because that's not taught to us from our childhood. That's not taught in our school. And so just because we do not know doesn't mean it's not there. Just because we don't see the water vapor, it doesn't mean it's not there.
Right. That's why Vedanta comes in to
Yeah,
teach us about this.
and the Vedanta comes and said, okay, like the Western science, we develop special tools like microscopes and telescopes to go beyond the limitations of our senses. All right, we can see very fine things. The Vedantin scientists also explored them within themselves, but they used the tool which is called the mind, but they developed its power so that it could grasp and perceive the subtle dimensions of our being.
Yes.
Okay. And they came with some wonderful truths also. And the sum total of all these truths, not by one person who wrote a book and everyone has to follow. No, it's not like that. Just like many thousands of scientists, millions of scientists have put together the knowledge, what we call science, thousands and thousands of spiritual scientists dive deep within themselves and put together their knowledge. And that knowledge is called the Vedas. And in the journey, in the beginning, they started with a very crude physical dimension, so they thought that the body or the mind or whatever. And when they came to the end part of it, the culmination behind that search, they came and said, we all are really spiritual beings. That has put on the mind and that has put on the body. And Vedanta is that philosophy or the teaching, sum total of those discoveries about who we are. So you get an idea about where we're coming from?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. This is all very interesting. It's a bit difficult to understand in one sitting, but could you explain it more with an example?
So Vedanta says, let's have a very broad summary of what they say, who they are, and we'll explore that. So what they say is, look, behind this physical body is a mind, which consists of knowledge and emotions. We are familiar with that. And there's a sense of an ego, I sense, that identifies with the body and the mind and all that. What they say is beyond that mind is what is called intelligence. They use the word buddhi. It is the fine aspect of the mind which controls the mind. So let me give an example. If I move my hand up, you see a physical, movement of a physical limb of my body. But how did that happen? Because in my mind, there was a thought which said, raise your hand.
Yes.
So it was that thought that became captured or was captured by my brain, and it generated special nerve signals which made the muscles in my hand contract, and that resulted in the lifting of my hand. So what we know from this, that the thought, which is very fine, you can't see it, you can't hear it, but actually it moved the hand, it became translated into movement. Then the question comes, where did the thought come from? Did it randomly appear, or is there something that controls your thoughts? So that becomes interesting because we want to control the mind, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you look in your own mind, there are so many thoughts bubbling in from somewhere, and we get hold of some of them and we explore and we like, we think, we plan, and afterwards we choose to do something with that. So, what Vedanta says, if you scrutinize inwards very carefully, you'll find that thoughts are things in your mind space. But there is somebody, some power, something higher aspect of ourselves, which is aware of those thoughts, is watching, sort of observing those things, and it's controlling those thoughts. And that's what we say now. I'm thinking about it, I'm planning, I'm making a decision, navigating those ideas and thoughts together, maybe putting some more information there until it becomes something when you say, oh, I understand it, or I've got a plan. Okay, now let's get into action. Or I'm going to speak this out, or I'm going to do something there. That inner part, which is controlling the mind, is equivalent to what we call, in Sanskrit, we call buddhi, the spiritual intelligence. Okay, in this age of AI, where you're talking about artificial intelligence of machines,
Yeah.
here's a counter idea, which is very interesting, that is available inside all of us by means of which we control our mind, our emotions, and feelings there. So that is the first discovery they came with and say, wow, there's something very powerful inside us. And if we can train that, it gives you tremendous control over your mind and feelings. And it's present in all of us.
And how do you train your mind?
Okay, that's another talk. We'll take that up a little later when we talk about the practices of meditation and all those things, where we develop this controller. Okay, strengthen it so that it has got greater control and observation of the thoughts and emotions and feelings. Meditation is the actual practice behind it, but we'll come to little later to that. But then you should ask me the question, so what is controlling that buddhi intelligence? Where is that coming from? Okay.
Yes.
Did they find anything beyond that? And yes, they came and said, oh, behind each and every one of us, there is that infinite consciousness. We are an ocean of consciousness. There's an ocean of consciousness on which there are so many waves, and these waves are you, me, and everyone around us. Limited manifestations, okay, made of the same substance, though.
Yeah.
Okay, the ocean is made out of H2O, and the wave is made out of that same thing. But what's the difference? The ocean is vast, and the wave is limited.
Yes.
Okay,
That's a good metaphor to
yeah.
put it like that.
So always if we understand this, Vedanta is bringing one very important idea, which is not available in our understanding of ourselves. It brings that universal consciousness, the ocean idea. You can't have a wave hanging out there on its own. It cannot exist on its own. So we all have a common substratum, which is limitless, infinite. But in manifestation, as Pranav, as Sheena, as me, we are different waves. Some are bigger, some are smaller, but we all have that ocean behind it. It's good to keep that idea behind us. The tremendous power comes from that source. So Vedanta says, look, that ocean, if you want to talk about that ocean part of it, our higher spiritual self, well, it is eternal, it is immortal, it's birthless and deathless, it is pure, it is perfect, it is of infinite knowledge, infinite bliss, infinite purity, beauty, goodness, freedom. Everything that we are seeking actually out there is present inside us. And what it is asking us is to believe in that. So when we are saying, Vedanta says, believe in yourself, it means having an understanding and faith in the spiritual dimension of who we are. And then tapping into that power and manifesting in our thought, words, deed, and action. So this is something Vedanta brings on. Yeah.
Right. And you mentioned believing in yourself. That's a trait that most successful people have. Wouldn't you agree? Like athletes, like people who overcome obstacles and challenges. And do you think that Vedanta is something that could help you be more successful both in life and spiritually?
So belief is what? It's a thought in your mind about something you are and you can do. All right. And you keep in that. It's not like today I believe and tomorrow my faith in myself shakes. If that happens, then you are not able to maintain that focus and perseverance and intensity or something like that, isn't it? It is like a sustained direction of that mental energy in a particular pursuit.
Right, but every day is not the same, right? Like some days you'd believe in yourself a lot more. Like for example, I don't know, in like a sports game, you might win, and then on that day you might believe in yourself a lot more than perhaps another day where you lost and then you feel bad, like this could be like like a football match or something, and you lose.
Confidence.
And it affects your confidence, and I don't know, I guess it's relatable to us young people as well, because we're trying to be more athletic and try and do stuff outside of school.
Yeah. So, well, see, if you have a person has that belief without any proper training, okay, and still succeed in life. Imagine if some proper discipline or training was given to cultivate a very strong belief and willpower within us, then you would be able to achieve far much more. More success will come, and when failures come, you can rebound back to your belief and enhance that. So Vedanta is really, your education is really about developing that inner faculty by which we can harness that energy. It is like this. Okay, imagine there's a power, your house has got a power supply. That is the electricity grid. All right. And you draw the power through some electrical circuit, you switch it on, electricity flows through that, and a bulb lights. Okay, something
Yeah.
magical happens, and a bulb lights, and you say, "Wow, this little thing is throwing out so much light." But behind that is the invisible electricity. Okay, if it is a small, maybe battery, then after some time that battery power will die out and your bulb will fade away. Okay, you put another battery. That is limited belief, limited faith, limited power within us. But if you can connect yourself to the main grid power, then you can, have constant supply, and you can have increase the bulb from 40 watt to 60 watt to 100 watt to 1000 watt. More and
Right.
more and power come. The important thing is to make that connection to that power supply that's within us and to
Right.
sustain it. And then the world is your oyster. You apply in whichever field. You can go to the moon. You can whatever you want to do. See.
Yeah, I think this is a good way to conclude. We've discussed some interesting stuff such as Vedanta and understanding that practicing Vedanta is not completely being religious, but it can be also religious, but not at the same time, and that it's actually scientific instead, and that it's a practice for pretty much everyone. We also talked about about the external world and the internal world, and how our thoughts control our actions. And in the next episode, we will try to discuss more about practicing meditation and how to control the mind.
I think that's a good start. We are exploring for beginners what Vedanta is, which is really exploring ourselves, the science of human possibilities, what we call it, S- and how to manifest and achieve success in our life, be masters of our own mind and feelings and actions and whatever we pursue, have greater success in all those things. And at the end of the day, this to have that faith that anything is possible, because behind every wave is that one universal infinite ocean. So let's explore this idea in the next episode, I suppose.
Yes, that sounds like a great idea. And thank you for your time, Swamiji.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you. See you again.
Bye.
Thanks. Yeah. Bye.